On this episode of Long Riders Radio, we're going to find out how you can become America's ultimate long-distance rider. Coming up! Support for Long Riders Radio comes from DiscountRamps.com. DiscountRamps.com offers a huge selection of power sports products for your ATV, UTV, motorcycle, and more. Everything you need to load, haul, or transport your power sports toys. Long Riders Radio listeners can save 15% off their order by using coupon code LONG. That's LONG at DiscountRamps.com. And by the West Coast 66 Rally, August 19th through the 21st with 4 start locations. Find out more at westcoast66.com. Well, hey there everyone, Justin here, hope you're doing well. It's starting to warm up a little bit, getting to be some good riding weather. Hope you're getting out and enjoying it. For this episode, we're going to talk with Rob Carlo, and Rob is the, I guess you call him the rally master of the America's Ultimate Long Distance Rider Motorcycle Challenge, which is a thing he runs out of Facebook. So it's a little bit informal, but still has a list of places to go and whatnot. We'll get into that with Rob, but definitely wanted to kind of take this episode and the intro of this episode to talk a little bit about some of the other events that are out there that are being put on now that people are being able to travel a little bit more, and just to a really good place if you're looking to find an event is over on Jason Jonas's Ride Master. The website is rides.jasonjonas.com, and I'll put a link down in the description. But just scrolling through there, I mean, there's events from Team Strange. There's events like the biggest Texas IBA event is in there, the Junior Butt Rally, the Senior Butt Rally, Grand Tour of Georgia. There's Rides to Eat. Gary Huff's North by Northwest Rally is, you can sign up there. And very soon over there, you will be able to find the West Coast 66 Rally, which I know the rally master, and he's putting on what I hope will be a good event. So I'm basically decided to put on to do a rally, and we're going to have it be West Coast based. So if you're interested on the West Coast and interested, go over, check out westcoast66.com for a little bit more information, and would love to have you come ride and see what it's all about. So without any further ado, let's get into talking with Rob, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Rob's stories are really quite touching, I think, and I think you'll enjoy. So see you on the flip side. Well, on the line today, we have someone who, if you've been on Facebook, you probably have seen his name. You might have seen it under Road Warrior or K-Dub. He is the man behind America's Ultimate Long Distance Motorcycle Challenge. Who could I be talking about? None other than Rob Carlo. Rob, welcome to Long Riders Radio.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. Hey,
the honor's mine. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, that's a pretty open-ended question.
By design.
I'm a retired New York City fireman. Started riding after 9/11, and that's where the story started.
I was going to say, to talk about that a little bit, because that is one of the coolest stories I have ever heard about how someone got into riding. So,
yeah. So, like I said, I'm a retired fireman in New York City. Retired in 2005. While I was a fireman, me and my younger brother had this business, and we were always working, contracting. And we both grew up riding dirt bikes as kids. So we both had a long history of riding as preteens and teenagers. My father was a motorcyclist. He used to do some trips and always loved sitting on his Honda up on the center stand, and he actually taught us before we had our own bike how to shift through the gears and clutch. He would narrate to us, you're coming to a stop sign, okay, what do you got to do? And we would go through it. A lot of fun. So getting back to my brother, he was killed on 9/11. He was a big sport bike rider, but always wanted to get a Harley. And he used to, bug me all the time. Come on, let's get a Harley. They look like a lot of fun. We can go ride. And me being the no fun guy, he was the fun guy. I'm the no fun guy. I told him, no, we had to work. Like joking around, I'm like, we have to work. We have no time to go riding. So 9/11 happens, and a couple months afterwards, friends of mine are going to New York City Harley to pick up their firefighter special edition Harley Davidson. First year they came out with. So I went for a ride with them with no intention to buy a motorcycle. Well, the salesman was a friend of mine, and he told me that it was the last bike available. And I just got intrigued by the whole, 9/11 just happened. They come out with a firefighter special. They paint them the same color as New York City fire trucks. And two of my buddies are getting one. Harley put their name on the primary covers. It was actually really nice. And then I remembered while I was there that my brother wanted to get a Harley. So it was kind of like it was meant to be that I was working that day with these guys, and I went to them with Harley. I kind of felt like, he was telling me that I had to buy this Harley, like it was just meant to be. So I did, and I bought the last Road King that was available at New York City Harley. Obviously, I didn't pick it up that day, but did buy it that day, and joined the New York City Fire Riders Motorcycle Club. Very casual club, not a super long distance club or anything like that. But they did some trips, some fun trips, more of a social type thing. And first trip I did was the 100th anniversary of Harley in Milwaukee, 2003. Well, after that trip, I was hooked. I knew it wasn't about bar hopping or just taking a 45-minute ride in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right then and there, I knew I wanted to travel and see the country on my motorcycle, meet the people that you meet on the road, and just learn as much as I can about traveling long distance on motorcycles. And that was the start of it. But, I do owe it to my younger brother who was killed, like I said, Michael.
Yeah.
And his voice was just in my ear that day, get that bike. And, I believe that I'm going to see him again. And I think when I see him again, my question to him is going to be, what happened on that day in 9/11 probably may or may not be. But his remark to me is going to be, I better duck or get ready to block, because he's going to be like, you bought the Harley. Like, after? We couldn't do that, before?
Yeah.
Every time I ride, I feel he's with me.
Yeah. Well, what a great, just a great way to remember your brother. And just have that connect. That is so cool. I when I was doing the research for this episode, I listened to you on another podcast called Fuel Stop Chats with James and Chris, and it was one of those stories like, oh my gosh, that is just the neatest tribute I have ever heard, and so it really struck me. So I'm so glad you did it. What do you think your brother would think about you riding in the Iron Butt Rally?
I started running marathons at a young age. My first running marathon was, I had just turned 18. Michael was a couple years younger than me and got into running a little later in life than I did. But when he got into it, he blew me away. Like I couldn't keep up with him in 5-mile races, 10Ks, 5Ks. He was just much faster than me. So I kind of think that we would be probably competing against each other. And hopefully I would have a better chance than I did running against them.
Yeah. Well, on that podcast too, you had another really cool quote that I absolutely love, that because you were talking with them about long distance riding, and they were doing what I would say is the typical I don't get it conversation that a lot of us have with people who aren't into long distance rider. And you made the comment of, well, I'd like to also not just do the fastest coast to coast ride, I'd like to do the slowest coast to coast ride. And I've never heard that before. And like, that is a good way of thinking about it, about just stopping. And you do a ton of riding too, from what I can tell, and with Tour of Honor and whatnot. So not really a question there, but just kind of what I thought was a cool quote.
I don't think I'll ever be close to the fastest cross country. Right, there's some amazing times out there. I've done it. I've got the 50cc twice recorded and did it a number of times. But I think in a way, the slowest could be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because you might fail a couple of times before you get that, do you want to come in at 49 hours and 59 minutes and 30 seconds? Like if you're at the wrong gas station,
yep.
Obviously you would get there a little early, but not get the receipt until
time
or something. But I just that's my answer as well. Or you could even say, you know what, it's not even going to be an iron butt ride.
Yeah.
It's going to be, hey, I'm going to leave the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, and I'm going to head east or west, whichever way you decide to go, and I'm going to take 2 years to get there. But constantly move, in that direction.
Yeah.
That would be a great record to have.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought you on was to talk about your the ride you put on, and this is the first year I've heard about it. But looking back, it looks like you've done this several years. And I had to my first impression when I heard that, it sounded kind of like a reality TV show on NBC with a millennial host and a washed up celebrity judge, a Victoria's Secret model, and then Simon Cowell for some reason. But tell me about what the America's Ultimate Long Distance Motorcycle Challenge is.
Yeah. That's funny because sometimes I'm out there riding and I'm like, this could really make a great reality show. But I don't know if only motorcyclists might be interested in it, but I think it could be fun if you had a lot of money to produce it and get cameras on the different riders. I think it would be a fun show.
Yeah.
So I'll just hold up my logo here real quick. So it's called America's Ultimate Long Distance Rider Motorcycle Challenge. So we started it. I came up with the idea back in 2015, and I'm pretty sure 2016 was our first year that we started the competition. And the way I came up with it, I was like, all right, now if you have all the time, and what's the ultimate fantasy for a long distance motorcycle rider is just to ride everywhere and see everything. And the only reason we don't is because we run out of time. We're all capable of riding unlimited hours, just about. And even if you're not capable, usually life gets in the way, work gets in the way. But I thought of this concept if you had unlimited time, who could actually put the most time into achieving the title of America's Ultimate Long Distance Rider? And it's on the Grand Tour style of motorcycle rally. And in the first year, I picked just things that I would love to see when I visit places. So I think some of the categories were national parks, national forests. What were some of the national cemeteries to pay homage to our veterans? Mm-hmm. And just a lot of cool different things, some quirky things too, one year it was, old gas pumps. Last year we had, statues of eagles. But see, what's unique about this is it's run totally on a Facebook group.
Oh, interesting.
You don't sign up for it. You don't pay for it. It's actually a free rally. Now, the guys that win this, or the top riders that win it every year, they're no joke. These guys are riding 60, 70, 80, 90,000 miles in a year and collecting all of these POIs all over the country.
Yeah.
You know how it is being a veteran rally rider yourself. You could ride on the interstate coast to coast in so many hours. But if you have to stop 15 times and go off the beaten path, it significantly takes much longer. So I really give these guys a credit that win and the top riders that actually achieve all of these miles while they're getting all of these POIs. It's quite a challenge.
Yeah. And so it's going on right now. I mean, it's the whole year, right?
Yep. So that's something else that's unique about it. It starts January 1st, ends December 31st, and starts again January 1st.
Oh, cool.
So I just keep with that theme that it's America's ultimate long distance rider. It's not something that's, let's start in March and finish in October. Because basically, to grab that title, it doesn't matter where you live in the country. And we've had this debate every which way. Okay. The guys up north say the guys in Florida have an advantage. But let me tell you, this is the kind of thing now that you got the guy in Florida, like you have to ride pretty much all over the country to win this thing, right? So if you're in Florida and you get all the nearby points that are available, say you live, in South Florida, not just to get out of Florida every time, you've got a few hours just to get to your next available point.
Yeah.
So if you're in maybe a colder climate, more in the middle of the country, you have your cold seasons, but you're also maybe more centrally located to get the whole country in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to trailer your bike anywhere. You have to pick a home base to start from. And I lead by example. I've had bikes in California, New York, Florida, but I only pick one location. That's where I start from. And to make it more fair also is not only are there POIs, but we give points for certified iron butt rides. So you can get a point for doing the distance and proving it. And then you get extra points for actually submitting it to the IBA and getting a certificate. I feel like you should support, the people that came before you and pay homage to them as well.
I was going to say, this is something that this type of rally really works good, in my opinion, because you can combine like 2 or 3 of them together. You can do Tour of Honor, you can do this, and do them all at the same time, and kind of piece your ride together on all these different rallies. And I mean, it probably makes the mental gymnastics of doing each one and making sure you're getting your points correct and submitted to the right place. But
it's the king of double dipping. You can be out there doing the Tour of Honor, another great Grand Tour style rally, self-directed. So you're allowed, in the beginning of the competition, there was unlimited points available. But then I felt that it didn't encourage people to leave their geographic area enough. Yeah. So then I made a limit a couple of years ago, and now we're down to about roughly there's 11 or 12 points in every state that you can get. You can do unlimited IBA rides, but amongst those 11 points this year, you're allowed to get two Tour of Honor points. 9/11 memorials will always be a category in my ride.
Yeah.
It's also a new category in the Tour of Honor this year, which I'll throw a little plug out there for the Tour of Honor. They're actually have a separate ride just for 9/11 memorials, and whoever is going to get the most 9/11 memorials this year is getting an award that they're naming after my brother Michael.
That's so cool.
It's real special this year that they're doing that.
What's your finisher status in your rally?
So I believe that anybody that puts any effort into it is on the board. So nice. And the way it's structured is, so it starts January 1st, but by no means do you have to start January 1st. I think one of the first years I didn't start riding until April. I was living in the mountains in Northern California, and I had to battle the snow just to get out of my garage. I didn't start riding until April, and I still think I placed, in 3rd place or definitely the top 10. So you don't have to start January 1st. And like I said, everybody gets those points that are near their home. It's those trips that you take where you really get those extra points. So like I said, it's all done on the Facebook group by the same name, America's Ultimate Long Distance Rider.
And we'll put a link to it.
Free. Every month. So you keep your score. It's all self-scored. And I call everybody that's a member on the group, we are the peanut gallery. And we take it very lightly. It's not a serious group. All bikes are participating. And I ask my group members to help me monitor and judge, the contest. So if somebody submits something that's not quite right, they can either tag me in it if they don't want to tell the guy, or they can just tell him outright, hey, the rule is this. So it's really a group effort, and I appreciate that. So it's free. It's self-guided. There's a certain amount of points in every state. You can double dip, ride other rides, and combine and do it in 2 hours and get points. There's a monthly winner and a year-end champion. So every month we recognize a monthly champion. Now we've been doing this since 2016, and there is still less than 20 people that have won a single month. I've only done it once. There's obviously a lot of these guys have won months.
Yeah.
But I would say, there's probably 3 or 4, maybe 3 or 4, 3, 4, 5 guys that are new at winning a month. So that's another great thing about it is people work, they can't ride as much as, say, a retired guy or so be it. So you can put all your effort into one good month and still come away and be a champion for a month. So like I said, it's free. I do offer certificates at the end of the year that I can put your mileage on it, where you placed, top 10, top 5. I'll even put top 50, 49th place. I'll put anything you want.
Yeah.
It's very loosely run. There's no hard.
That's awesome.
Hard set. And I even make a little joke about it on the certificate, that we're not so strict and we're run by the peanut gallery and have fun. And, so I do sell those certificates for $20 at the end of the year so people can get something. And then all the money goes into a PayPal account, and nobody takes a profit from that account. When a fundraiser comes up, I donate money to it and support either something related to motorcycle riding or something totally not related that I think is just a great cause.
Oh, cool.
So I can honestly say that all the money that's raised, either through sticker sales or certificates or even some merchandise, T-shirts that are available, all the money does go to charity eventually.
Nice. How does Rever play into it? Or is it Rever?
Yeah. So let's see. One of our categories is Scenic Byways.
We should probably point out Rever is a iPhone app that helps you find places to ride, basically, right?
Yeah. So, Rever is a tracking. It's a mapping, tracking device in an app that they really have grown quite a bit. They've also have contests of their own. I actually won 3 sets of tires one year for winning their mileage contest.
Oh, wow.
2018, I did 78,000 miles, and I got 3 sets of Dunlop tires out of it, which was the tires I used that year.
Cool.
So we have Scenic Byways as one of our categories, and I put a link on the rules of the Scenic Byways that are listed on it's a website. And what you do to score that point, because all the points are scored with pictures that we post in the group, take a screenshot of the Scenic Byway from the link, and then take a screenshot of some type of tracking that you did for that ride. And try to make them look identical in size so that everybody could say, oh yeah, here's the route, here's the track, and here's the track he rode, he got the point.
Mm-hmm. So
at the time, I was using Rever, as well as I've been a fan of Spotwalla as well for a long time. But we were using Rever, it was just an easy thing, and I have no ties to them. The company actually has been sold to a bigger company, and it seems like they're getting better and better.
Cool. So one last question I wanted to ask you before we get into the LD dozen here. Also on the Fuel Stop chats with James and Chris, you have a very cool story about your engine blowing up, which seems like an odd thing to have a cool story about. but tell us the story of your engine blowing up and why the day it blew up was very important.
Yeah. I feel very blessed in my motorcycling miles of my lifetime. I've broken down. So I have almost $500,000. $500,000. I have almost.
You wish.
I don't have anywhere near that. I have almost 500,000 miles under my belt. The current bike I'm riding has 295,000 miles. It's a 2011 road bike. So when I bought the bike brand new, I got the 7-year extended service plan that Harley offered. Well worth it when you ride the bike and plan on keeping it. Well worth it. Had so much money spent on that, and I've always been fortunate that I break down in good places, whether it's my driveway or somewhere near a dealer or whatever. But anyway, so a couple of years ago, I'm on my way through Montana, on my way to Sturgis, and I knew my motor just wasn't sounding right. But every time I brought it to a shop, nobody wanted to open it up because they couldn't get authorized under the extended service plan unless there was something broken. Well, I just knew it was a matter of time before it happened. And I'm riding on the interstate, and all of a sudden the motor just shuts off. I coast over to the shoulder. It happens that I'm 28 miles from Grizzly Harley Davidson in Montana, in Missoula. I get to the shop. It's a Sunday, and they're open, right? Great karma there. They're open on a Sunday. And now I thought my extended service plan had expired the month previous. So when I walked in and talked to the service manager, I told him that I had an extended service plan, but it might be expired. So he looks it up, and he goes, "You're not going to believe this. Today is the last day of the service plan." And I immediately looked up at the sky and had a conversation with my brother and said, "Thank you." I think quite a bit when I'm writing to him for various reasons, because I know that he's somehow making this stuff happen. I mean, the last day, it's a 7-year warranty. Happened on the last day. Harley was open on a Sunday. I guess it's not that uncommon in the summer for them to be open, but all of these things come together, and I'm getting a new motor now for $50. So yeah, I was blessed that day for sure.
It probably says something about Harley's ability to gauge when that engine might let go, and that it's probably just past 7 years.
Yeah, it had 223,000 miles at the time.
Wow.
And I don't really know if Harley has any idea. I think they more think, so many Harley people, they buy new bikes every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So they don't really have to worry about too much warranty work.
Well, in this podcast, I ask each guest the same series of 12 questions. I almost said 11. You ready to go?
Sure.
All right. Question number 1. What was your first motorcycle and why?
Well, I mean, like I said, I grew up riding dirt bikes. So my first motorcycle was under my Christmas tree. And I think I was probably around 10 years old or so.
Do you remember what kind it was?
Yeah, I sure do. It was a Suzuki TM75. So I guess before they had the RM75s or RM80s, actually, their little motocross bike, if you want to call it that, was the TM. So that was the first bike. And Christmas Day, my father brought us to a vacant lot in the snow on a lawn chair, and he had me and my little brother out there, teaching us how to ride this thing.
How cool. All right, question number 2. Where did you take your first overnight ride?
I'm going to say it was probably that trip that I mentioned to Milwaukee with a bunch of firemen, where we went out for the 100th anniversary of Harley. And, I mean, that was an eye-opener. I mean, that town in Milwaukee, they just opened their arms, I was totally did not expect that greeting that we got when we got there. So that was pretty special, and that got me hooked.
Yeah. You've kind of talked about this, but what is your day job? What pays for this LD riding habit?
Well, I did mention I'm a retired New York City fireman, so I do have a small pension. That pays for 2 tires a year. I also mentioned how my brother and I had a business when we were a lot younger, and we kind of were preparing to retire, as soon as we could, and do some fun stuff, travel the world together. We were both sailing at the time and doing a lot of fun stuff. So we invested in real estate. We would make money. We were roofing contractors, and we would make money and buy some real estate and set ourselves up for when we wanted to retire, that we would have some passive income coming in.
Nice.
So I still have to, right now, I still have to answer a phone and be near a computer. But I have pretty flexible timing right now.
That's pretty cool. That lends itself to doing a lot of writing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I'm so grateful that we did that. And,
yeah.
I owe it all to him too, because I didn't want to own real estate at all. I saw all the negatives. He saw all the positives. That's just the way it went. Like he was in this life to stop me from being so negative and bring some positivity to my life, and that's what he did. And I'm so thankful for it now that I can do the things I want to do.
Yeah. All right. Question number 4. What is your favorite non-motorcycling hobby?
My favorite non-motorcycling hobby. Well, I haven't done it much. When I started riding and I bought that Road King back in 2002, after 9/11, I kind of stopped all my hobbies. I was an avid mountain climber at the time. Everything from rock climbing to alpine mountaineering. I climbed a volcano in Mexico that was almost 17,000 feet.
Wow.
I've summited Mount Rainier with a couple of buddies of mine. We led the team up and taught them everything they needed to know about rescue and whatnot. And another passion I had was sailing, and that was mostly because my brother Mike he just loved being on the ocean. So we would go to the Caribbean and bareboat these charters, these big catamarans, and cruise through the British Virgin Islands. And that was a big passion of mine with him for a long time as well.
Wow. And by the way, Mount Rainier, no slouch. That's 14,000 feet, and it's not the easiest climb from what I've heard too. So,
yeah, you got to be careful. You got to know how to rescue each other in case somebody falls into a crevasse. You're all roped up to each other. So that's a fun time. It's a real fun time.
Yeah, there's a guy. Side note here: a guy I worked with. He did a summit of Mount Rainier, and it was like the day there was some huge avalanche that they had to do a rescue, and so he was pumped up that the guys, because all of a sudden the guides got pressed into service, and the guides were like, "Okay, you seem to know what you're doing. You do this," and so he was pretty pumped that he he got to do that part of it at least. But yeah, it could be a pretty nasty place up there.
Yeah, it was fun. We did it as a memorial to a fireman that I worked with that was killed in the line of duty. So 4 guys from my firehouse, we decided to do this in his memory. And 2 of the guys flew in at nighttime, never saw the mountain, never saw Mount Rainier. They met us at a campsite. The morning that we started was kind of overcast, so they never saw the size of Mount Rainier. Now, it's a standalone volcano, unlike a lot of the peaks in the Rockies where it's kind of a chain.
Yeah.
So it just looks so much bigger than it actually is as well.
Yeah, it's got a lot of prominence.
Yeah. So, the last day when we came down off the volcano, off Mount Rainier, they looked back and they told me outright, they said, "Rob, if we would have saw this before we went up, we would have never went up there with you."
I mean, I look at that mountain pretty much every day of my life. I look at that mountain, and it's, well, I would say this: the fact that they didn't see it, not that uncommon, because we call that winter, and you just don't see. You can't, the clouds are in, and it's socked in for the winter. But
yeah, and we actually made it to the summit first that day, which was kind of magical because any given summer day in the season, there could be, I guess, a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
And what happened was I had taken a mountaineering class with Rainier Mountaineering, and I got to meet a lot of their guides. And their head guide at the time, I think his name was George. But anyway, we're in line. You get up at midnight, put your headlamps on, and you start trucking up the path. And all of a sudden, the whole line stopped. It's pitch black out. We're all novice climbers. Nobody wants to get off the trail and risk anything. So here comes the Rainier Mountaineering guide, who I knew. It just happened to be the same guy that I took a class with. And he looks at me and goes, "Hey, Rob, what's up?" And my friend was ready to cut the rope and throw me in the ditch right there. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This guy knows me. Well, he was asking me what the holdup was. I wasn't sure. So he was going to pass everybody. And he asked if he could take his group ahead of us. And I said, sure. I go, can we tag along behind you? Yeah. So he tells the guides we're going to follow him. He gets us to the lead of the line of 150, 200 people. And then he steps aside and he goes, "Go ahead, Rob. You guys
cool.
Here." So we were 4 people. Everybody else was much bigger groups. So we moved so much faster. And we made it to the summit 6:30 in the morning. We were the only ones up there.
That's got to be a beautiful sight, watching the sun come up. All right, question. Now that let's get back to motorcycles here for a second. We've got a long riders. Yeah, mountaineering radio here. So, what is your favorite road?
Oh, I could give that cliche answer and say the one I'm on.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think there's nothing better than feeling that you have a full tank, you don't have to stop for gas, and you're just in that zone. Mm-hmm. And 2 of those favorite zones for me is when the sun is setting and you've been riding all day and have a bunch of miles under your belt and you're somewhere out west. And I say out west just because there's a lot less traffic in general out west and in the east. I love riding into a sunrise after riding all night, as well, as long as you've got your wits and you're awake and you're all pumped. But those 2 zones right there, so not so much the road. I mean, there's 100 of my favorite roads. I couldn't possibly name one, but it's more about the time that I'm on that road and the day and the feeling of it.
That response is not uncommon, where it's not there's nothing technical about the road, anything like that. It's just the experience you were having as you came over a hill or whatever it might be. I mean, one of my favorite memories was on Steve Chalmers' Menage a Trois rally, and I'm coming down on I-80 of all places, coming down into Salt Lake City as the sun's coming up out of Evanston, Wyoming, and it was just like, oh my God, this is just beautiful with the mountains all around you, and just.
I know the exact spot that you're talking about. Too. You're coming from brown and you're coming into green. Yeah, and it is a beautiful spot. Yeah.
Well, on the flip side, this one definitely usually has an answer. So, what is your least favorite road?
I can tell you, I grew up in New York, and my least favorite road is one that I've been taking my entire life, and it's the Bronx Expressway. It's a section of I-95 through New York City. Mm. So you actually come up from New Jersey, and you have to cross the George Washington Bridge, and that brings you actually into Manhattan for a little bit, and then over into the Bronx. Well, there's spots on that road where there is no shoulder. And it's not known for being the best condition either. I mean, the traffic that goes through there's huge, tire ruts in there. And it's just, you try to time it maybe to get there through the middle of the night. And usually when you do that, that's the night they're doing construction. There's no easy way anymore. They did get rid of the toll booths. And now it's all done, with these transponders and Easy Pass. So that makes it a little more bearable. But that Cross Bronx is just hell. And I actually used to have a chopper. I had a 2004 chopper. And I was riding 2 up on it on our way upstate New York, which has beautiful riding. But living in Long Island, there's no way to get around it. You have to just bite the bullet and get through. Yep. It was a Sunday morning, and the traffic was moving 50 or 60 miles an hour. I'm riding this chopper, and my swing arm broke. and my train comes down onto the doing 50 miles an hour.
Oh my
My
God.
buddy behind me thought it was the end of the world. All he saw was sparks. Well, here we are, no shoulder. We're what they call under the apartments. So it goes from sunlight into a dark tunnel. But nobody could see at that point. Well, I thank God a nice enough person stopped their car right behind us and waited for us to get help.
Oh wow.
Because I couldn't, you can't roll the bike now. It's
Yeah.
on concrete and there's nowhere to roll it to. There is absolutely no shoulder at all. That was an experience.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so on the 2019 Iron Butt Rally, there was on leg one, there was I think it was a lighthouse out at the end of Long Island that I considered going to for a little bit and decided against it. Did you go to that, knowing that area?
No way. Okay, so I'll compare that to the southernmost point in Key West. So, both are about the same from any major highway, about 100 miles. And to somebody that might not know either one, the southernmost point is pretty popular. A lot of people know that it's 35, 45 mile an hour zones, a lot of it. Well, this Montauk Lighthouse looks so close, and it has highways going all the way there. But there's some towns that you have to go through. And the summer traffic, that's the Hamptons.
Yeah.
That's where everybody in New York City goes on their weekends. So there was no way I was going out there. Turns out, I forget who it was, somebody actually did do it. He scored pretty high that first leg. And I don't know if I talked to him a little bit about it. I told him he had, some high, that was really great that he was able to do that. And I forget his answer when I asked him if he was familiar with what he was going to see. And I think he said he underestimated how long it was going to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that on my list for about 10 minutes and no, there's no possible way this is happening. Plus it was going to be riding through New York City and I was like, I don't even
there was a lot of variables there. And
yeah.
Sometimes I think knowing an area works to your disadvantage. I just did the Tour of Honor and I was lucky enough to place first place for the state of Florida on opening day.
Oh, cool.
And I met another rider at the first memorial, and he knew the state of Florida. He had Florida plates on his bike. I have New York plates on my bike. So I had a route, and I'm just like, all right, this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to take all day, and I'm going to go for it. Well, he might have just been overwhelmed, being in South Florida, and then eventually we had to end up near Pensacola. I think that might have worked to his disadvantage because he knew the area much better, and he probably was like, I'm not going that far. That's too much in one ride.
Yeah.
I just looked at it like another ride.
Well, I had a similar experience on the 2019 Iron Butt where it was up here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm like, oh no, I am not going on that road, or not going through there during rush hour, where other people would be like, oh yeah, I just went. It wasn't that bad. And,
it's a big thing to say about fear and anxiety, right? Fear and anxiety are usually things that didn't even happen yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we knew it, we had this fear and anxiety, so we don't do it. But then the people that are going blind, and they get through it, and it's not a problem.
All right, question number 7. When you're planning a trip, what do you use? Use Basecamp, Streets Trips, paper maps? Some app?
So obviously years ago, not that I haven't been riding that long since I bought my first street bike in 2002, or 2001, got the 2002 Road King. Back then there was no electronics for me. It was all maps. Mm-hmm. And then I remember taping directions to my gas tank of just roads and which am I going to make am I going east, west, and just a list, and that was my navigation, and I used a map to kind of plan it. But as I started doing more and more endurance stuff, and you find you start riding by yourself because you're doing a lot more than other people are available to do.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, right? And then you have you have Google Maps that makes it so easy. The Tour of Honor was genius the way they set up the Tour of Honor, 11 years ago. You go on their link and you hit the state and the 7 sites show up, and now you just touch it and you're instant Google Maps.
Yeah.
It makes it so easy. But that wasn't your question. Your question was how to plan. And
how do you plan? Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy going on the Rever website on my computer because they have a deal with Butler Motorcycle Maps.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love Butler Motorcycle Maps. I think they're phenomenal. They highlight some of the best roads. I've ridden with people in their own state, and I've taken them on some of these Butler route rides that they didn't even know there was roads or these roads were there. So it's almost like getting local knowledge of an area that you might never have been before. So the Rever website highlights these roads. So you can plan a trip and incorporate all of these Butler map routes. Plan it, you can save it, you can download it, then you can ride it on your app on your phone.
I'm gonna have to check out Rever again because it must have been right after they released it originally, because I looked at it and it was like, at that point I was looking, can you import a GPX file to it? And the answer was no, and I just moved on and I never went back to it. And it sounds like I probably need to do that and check it out again.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I've ever imported a GPX route into it, but you can export out of there and save them. But like I said, I just find it real easy way to get really good roads incorporated into your route.
There's 2 things I want in a mapping program, and I have yet to find one that does both. I want to import a GPX file, or I want to be able to import things into it, and I want to have offline maps. And you can find one that does one or the other, but not both.
Right. Yeah, so you just have to switch back and forth, I guess, on your apps.
Yeah. So, all right, well, question number 8. If you get a new motorcycle tomorrow, what's the first Farkle you are going to put on it?
Well, I am looking at the new Harley model in America, right? And I'm not sure what is stock on it, but I'm dying to get on some backcountry discovery routes with that bike. And I'm friends with people that have already ridden it and actually have been riding it for a couple of years, helping Harley develop it. And nothing but rave reviews. They love it. So I would normally say suspension.
Interesting.
Or lighting. But I think this bike is going to be fine with both of those. So I would probably say something that would set me up for success, like luggage. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We've talked about this a little bit, but question number 9 is, what is your current bike? I think we haven't talked about the why this particular one is your current bike.
Yeah. So 2011 Road Glide Special. Before that, I was riding that Chopper, and I also still have my first Harley, the 2002 Road King.
I'm guessing you're never getting rid of that one.
No, I'll never get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, neither bike I'll get rid of because they're not worth much. Either one of them, worth much. The one I'm riding now is just beat up so bad it's not worth anything. The Road King is a bit of a collector's bike, but it's not worth anything.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know my rear end from a hole in the ground when it comes to Harleys. So can you talk about why? I mean, is it Road Glide? You said what makes the Road Glide a good LD bike? Right.
So the Road King has a windshield that snaps on and off very easy, real quick. Just the windshield, and it's attached to the whole steering. It moves when you steer. The Road Glide is the only Harley Davidson that has a fixed fairing to the frame. So you can literally, you have such little effect of the wind on your steering, and it's such a well-balanced bike. Sometimes I just have these contests when I'm on the road by myself to see how far I can ride without touching the handlebars. Like, it's just so easy. I could never do that I ride. My father has an Ultra. I can never do that on his Ultra.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just a stable bike. And when you're on the super slab going, and those uh, tractor trailers that come in the opposite direction or even the same direction, it's a stable bike. It really holds the road well. It doesn't get affected as much by the wind as a fairing that's attached to the steering.
Interesting. All right, question number 10. Who made your seat?
Harley Davidson.
Nice. Now that you find it, I mean, you find
It's not even an extra. It's a stock seat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you use like beads or anything, or just straight seat?
This seat, and it's got some rips in it. Like I'm due for a seat, but 295,000 miles on my stock seat.
Yeah, I bet it's got some rips.
I do have some nice suspension for the bike, and I think
Okay.
that kind of helps a lot. I have some legroom suspension, and they've been helping me out for a long time. And great product, great company, made in America. I really like the family that makes it, and they always stand by their product. Always willing to replace anything when it wears out.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Question number 11. What is your favorite or the most interesting location you've visited on your motorcycle?
Oh, man. I think I got to say that someone, and again, it goes with that experience thing. I've ridden to the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota quite a few times, and I've made some friends on the reservation and learned a lot about. I learned a little about the Lakota people, and I do a charity ride almost every year. We do it at the Sturgis Rally. My friend Throttle Girl, she sponsors it and gets it together. We take a bunch of motorcyclists and we go out to the Pine Ridge Reservation and we go horseback riding with them for a day. So I'm just fascinated and very intrigued, and really enjoy spending time with a family that, the matriarch, and then he has 20 grandchildren running around, and they're all so respectful of all the adults, and they're all intrigued by all the motorcycles, and we just have a great day with them, and they're intrigued with our motorcycles, and we're intrigued with the way they're riding horses.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids are born on the horses. Like, they got skill like no other, and so we give them rides on the motorcycle, and they give us rides on their horses. And
That's cool.
That's one of my favorite experiences on a motorcycle.
Nice.
To go visit my friends on Pine Ridge.
All right, last question. How do you pass the time on a long ride? You listen to audio, books, music, watch the flowers go by?
It's either music or nothing, and the mood changes back and forth. I've never listened to a book. I'm not opposed to it, but it's something I never do anyway.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll give that a try. But usually it's either music or just I'm deep in my own thoughts.
Nice. Well, you have completed the LD dozen. Anything else you want to talk about before I let you go?
No, if anybody wants to check out America's Ultimate Long Distance Rider, I'd be happy to answer any questions for them. They can contact me. I started another group on Facebook called Long Distance Motorcycle Riding. We're over 20,000 people, and I started that group kind of to help inspire and help maybe newer people ask questions, and if they're interested in some long distance riding. I remember I didn't know anything back in 2003 before I went to Milwaukee on my first trip. And if it wasn't for some good friends of mine to hold my hand and show me, I would have never found my passion.
Yeah.
The bike would be like a lot of other bikes sitting in the garage, never getting used. So I'm just trying to pay it forward, and this group is a great way to pay it forward. I try to keep it very, very friendly, non-judgmental.
Yeah.
As the group gets bigger, it is harder to control. But a lot of people enjoy it. It's a great place to get some information, and there's a lot of helpful people on the page.
You have a very, very good set of rules. I really liked your rule list, and I'll just let people go find that on their own. But I thought that was very insightful, your rules, and very effective, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make it a non-Facebook group.
Yes, de-Facebook it.
Bad about social media.
Yeah.
I try to not have it on our group, and it's difficult at times. It really is.
I bet. Well, Rob, thank you very much for coming on the show. Thank you for your service to both New York City and our country as a whole. Thank you for your brother. Thank you for telling that story. That is just like I said, one of the coolest reasons for someone to get into LD riding I've ever heard. So I really can't thank you enough for coming on this show. And if anyone is interested, go check out Facebook. We'll put links down in the description of this, and go check out these rides that Rob puts on. I think you'll have some fun. So Rob, thank you again, and we'll catch you out on the road.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if you'd like to get in contact with me, there's lots of ways you can do it. Easiest way is to head over to that website, www.longridersradio.com. And another thank you to the folks over at DiscountRamps.com for their support on this episode. DiscountRamps.com offers a huge selection of power sports products for your ATV, UTV, motorcycle, and more. Long Riders Radio listeners can save 15% on their order by using coupon code LONG. That's LONG over at DiscountRamps.com. And as always, we need to thank this show's founder, Mr. Michael Cox. I was talking to Mike on Zoom the other day, and I'm like, Mike, really, when I can see you, you really need to put on pants. I mean, how hard is that? And he said,
and it's difficult at times.
Ride safe, everyone.